welcome to the Tide Show for May 26th. Today, go over a couple of things, including when some of the major college programs will be opening their campuses up for football workouts this summer, and also some NBA news that came out today. So let's jump straight into it. As the big news out here in Oklahoma is that the Oklahoma University announced today that voluntary football workouts will begin as of July 1st, which is the latest day possible. I know the Big 12 said that they could go back on June 14th, but they're going to wait till July 1st to do theirs. Joe Castiglione, the AD director, left these comments to say at that. As we have planned for the reopening of our facilities, the health of our student athletes and staff have been our top priority. It is the principle that has guided every step of our malicious process. At OU, we are fortunate to have one of the most respected teams of doctors and athletic trainers in the country. We have looked to them for direction in our preparation protocols. They will continue to play an important role in the weeks leading up to our opening and beyond. We believe in our approach and are convinced that it is our best position our student athletes and staff for long-term success. It's great excitement that we look forward to their return in preparation for the upcoming sports season. Student athletes who return for the workouts will undergo medical testing and observation by Oklahoma doctors. The school said players can be continuously monitored and will be expected to adhere to a number of safety protocols and guidelines. The NCAA student athletes can begin returning to campus June 1st for voluntary workouts. Holding a college football season as scheduled remains up in the air because of the pandemic. The NCAA has maintained it will not have games until students are allowed back on campus. All the commissioners and every president that I've talked to is in clear agreement. If you don't have students on campus, you don't have student athletes on campus. NCAA President Mark Ermit said earlier this month that doesn't mean the school has to be up and running in the full normal mode, but you have to treat the health and well being of the athletes at least as much as regular students. If the school doesn't reopen, then they're not going to be playing sports. It's really that simple. The vast majority of states are still restructuring large gatherings for the foreseeable future, though many have been opening to a degree. The Cal State University already had plans to hold nearly all classes online in fall, which would seemingly make San Diego State, Fresno State, and San Jose State not eligible to play. Voluntary workouts are different from holding games. The NCAA will not allow members schools to hold any mandatory activities. So yes, they are going back on July 1st. We had some teams announce today that they're going to go back on June 8th, which include Ohio State, uh, Illinois, Clemson, and Louisville, along with Tennessee. Clemson is hoping to get back to the top of the college football world during the 2020 season behind star quarterback Trevor Lawrence and running back Travis Etienne. We know now that the two Tiger stars, along with the rest of it, football as well as men and women's basketball, will be allowed back on campus. The school announced Thursday that voluntary workouts and activities are planned to start as of Monday, June 8th. Student athletes can return to the Clemson area on June 1st and must go through a period of social and physical distancing 7 days at home prior to return to the area and 7 days in or around the Clemson area. Clemson will institute a three-phase plan with integrating these student athletes back to campus. Phase 1 allows staff members directly responsible for the health and well-being of the student athletes and employees who are preparing facilities for Phase 2 on campus for a period of no less than 14 days. Coaches will work remotely during this phase. Phase 2 and 3 will further integrate staff and student athletes and include adjustments within facilities as well as other measures based on health department guidelines. Specifics for the final two phases are not available. We are encouraged to begin the first step in the implementation of our Phase 1 planning and appreciate the leadership of our university in helping us prepare for our student athletes and staff to return in early June, said Athletic Director Dan Rankovich. We are confident in our ability to provide a safe environment and put our energy in that goal. We are encouraged by the progress and remain vigilant as we begin to welcome uh, a limited number of student athletes back to our facility. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic forced the complete shutdown of college athletics since mid-March. The NCAA voted last week to allow players back on campus beginning June 1st. So yeah, with OU waiting until July 1st, I know it's a safety protocol. We saw with Lincoln Riley saying that he thought it was stupid that anyone would go back on June 1st. But it's definitely going to put them at a disadvantage because you have teams like Clemson and Ohio State who are going to begin practicing on June 8th, which is almost a full month more than, let's say, a Sooner team. But I mean, those teams have been officially, as of Monday, June 8th, of Ohio State, Tennessee, Illinois, Clemson and Louisville will be back on campus, at least practicing for the season. Which I think no matter what we're going to get the season, I think it's really a question of will there be fans in the stadium? And I think we all need college football, and so for that reason, it's going to be exciting to see how it works out. Um, but let's jump into some NBA news as Bradley Beal was on the Up and Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, where he said some pretty interesting things. The main thing was Bradley Beal was almost involved in a trade on draft night in 2012. And let's get into that. Bradley Beal apparently almost played alongside Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in on the Oklahoma City Thunder. During an appearance on All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steve Jackson, Beal discussed a potential trade scenario that unfolded on draft night in 2012. While the Washington Wizards ultimately selected Bradley Beal with the number 3 pick, the shooting guard said his agent told him the Thunder were exploring trading James Harden for that selection. The University of Florida product was surprised because he only worked out for the Wizards, the Cavs, and the Hornets and did not know OKC was so interested in him. Harden was not a league MVP at that time and one of the best players in the NBA, and instead came off the bench and anchored the second unit with the Thunder. Oklahoma City eventually traded him to Houston and created one of the most memorable NBA what ifs in recent history, giving Harden's ascent to superstardom. Had the Thunder kept him, perhaps they would have won a championship atop of the Golden State Warriors in 2016 after building a 3-1 lead. The potential trade involving Beal is also a fascinating what if. While he isn't at Harden level, Beal is a two-time All-Star who could take over a game at a moment notice. He is averaging 30.5 points, 6.1 assists, and 4.2 rebounds per game this season, and is someone who could have played alongside Durant and Westbrook because of his shooting ability. It's not difficult to envision him drilling open three-pointers on the wing when Westbrook collapsed and the defense swung towards Durant, and his scoring prowess also could have put the Thunder ahead of the Warriors in the Western Conference pecking order. Alas, Washington didn't do the trade that would have sent Beal and Chris Singleton to the Rockets for Harden, which meant owner Ted Leonsis did not have to pay Harden's contract, and he eventually hit his prime. Of course, making that trade would have given the Wizards someone who developed into a league MVP and scoring machine, perhaps changing their fate as well with John Wall as a potential backcourt mate. I knew about this on draft night, this almost happened. I know with James Harden, he wanted 60 mil. We offered him 50 mil that season. At that time, he was the sixth man for us, and we were going to trade him because we could only pay Serge or we could only pay Harden. And at that time, Serge was a All Defensive Player of the Year candidate, so we were going to pay Serge that money. We were still going to give Harden 50 mil, but he wanted 60 mil. We didn't think that it was worth to give a bench player 60 million at the time. And so I was all for it too, trading him as much as Bradley Beal would have been better than Kevin Martin and Jeremy Lamb and Steven Adams, which is what we got for Harden. I hate when people do the what if. Well, what if the Thunder didn't break up? What if Harden stayed? How good would that team would have been? People don't understand what Harden was with the Thunder. He was a six man at best. He didn't start for us. Yes, he was a six man of the year candidate. I think he even won it one time. But he wasn't a superstar. He never would have been the superstar that he was. The only reason he got so good in Houston was because he had all the touches and he became that superstar. And he wanted to prove everyone wrong that he wasn't a six man and that he was worth his contract. In OKC, he never would have been that. Never, ever would have been what James Harden is today. And yes, Bradley Beal would have been nice to have, and I still hope that at some point Bradley Beal does become a Thunder player because I really do like Bradley Beal, and I know there's been some trade rumors about him going to other teams. I wouldn't mind him coming to OKC, but I don't think it's fair to say that him and Harden trade would have made a team better or made us beat the Warriors of 2016 because we almost beat them anyway. If it wasn't for Klay Thompson having what may be the greatest game ever in Game 6 for his like I'm not gonna say ever, but that's where Game 6 Klay was made. The Thunder were in the finals that year, and I think we would have beat Cleveland that year. It's just the truth. But I mean I'm maybe a biased Thunder fan at that point, but that's just what I would say. But he also said another funny story, which is that about his mom. Um, kind of funny, but also not. He said his mom didn't talk to him for 2 months after he committed to Florida. The night before Bradley Beal made his college decision, his mother asked him where he was planning to go. She did not like the answer. The guard revealed to his mother did not talk to him for 2 months after he announced plans to attend Florida over her preference, Kansas, which was about 4 hours away from their hometown of St. Louis. I'm on the stand. I got all the hats in front of me, so I'm giving my speech and all. I'm looking at moms, and she's like, "Boy, you better say the right school," Beal said on all the smoke. She wanted me to go to Kansas. Kansas is 4 hours from St. Louis, right down the street. Me, I wanted to get the hell out of St. Louis. I wanted to be as far away as I could possibly go and be on my own. I'm on the stand. I'm like, I'm going to the University of Florida. She got up, walked out, didn't say nothing, didn't clap. I didn't talk to her for 2 months, living in the same house. Beal said it took intervention from his dad and his two older brothers to break the silence. She never missed any of my games, from grade school all the way up to high school. She was at every single game. So for me to go 18 hours away was like a slap in the face to her. Even if I went to Duke, that was 14. And she was like, that's too far. Kansas is cold. It's 4 hours away. It's too close. I just couldn't do it. Beal also revealed that his relationship with his mother quickly healed to the point where she called Billy Donovan at Florida to complain about him not getting the ball enough. Ultimately, Beal's 18-hour trip did not last long. He declared for the NBA draft after spending 1 year at Florida and was the number 3 pick to Washington, which is slightly closer at 13 hours. But yeah, the story about Billy Donovan was that his mom was a big coach of his, and so he told her, he's like, "You're not the coach of me anymore while I'm at Florida." And the first couple games, he wasn't getting as much touches. And she calls Billy Donovan and tells him that her son needs more touches. And Billy hung up on her immediately and told Bradley, "Never have your mom call me again." It's just funny. Uh, Billy Donovan being the coach of the Thunder now, it's hilarious to see that they had that connection. And it's, I think we all have a parent that's like that at some point, that overprotective parent. But to call up a college head coach and demand your son to get more touches is pretty funny. But the main thing that's coming out of the NBA is the new playoff format, which would set up the teams 1 through 16 instead of 1 and 8, 1 and 8. You might ask, how does that work? Well, it would involve the teams I mean, the matchups you would get are, if I could pull this up real quickly. I know the Bucks are the 1 seed. Yeah, Milwaukee is the 1 seed. They would play Orlando, just like regular. The Lakers would play Brooklyn, though. Um, your 3 seed of Toronto would play the Memphis Grizzlies. The Clippers would still play Dallas. 5 seed of Boston would play Philadelphia. Denver would play Indiana. Utah would play Houston, and Miami play OKC. How would those work? In my opinion, uh, I think Milwaukee would definitely blow out Orlando. Um, I don't have any doubts there. Same with LA on Brooklyn. Clippers versus Dallas is interesting for sure. Uh, I'd give it to the Clippers probably 75%. Toronto versus who would they play? Toronto versus Memphis. I think Toronto has a big advantage there. Utah versus Houston's interesting. I might give the up to Houston more than Utah because of the injuries Utah has right now. Uh, Denver versus Indiana would be a fun series. I think Denver would handle that one pretty easily. Boston would handle Philadelphia pretty easily. But the one that's really interesting to me, of course, is the Thunder because that's my team. A series against Miami scares me as much as I would rather play Utah because of the injuries right now. A series against Miami would absolutely scare me. ESPN legit has it 50% both teams. They don't know who would win it. And that's the same thing. I would probably give the advantage to Miami. I just think that they have a little bit of a better team there, and they would move on in the second round. But it would definitely be interesting, as you'll see on the screen. I'll put the bracket up. It may not be clear, but you can find it pretty easily what the matchups would be. But you would get what could possibly be a Lakers versus Clippers final, which would be very, very, very interesting instead of having that in the Western Conference final. Um, but all in all, uh, do I like this format? Yes. The main doubts, of course, would be travel of doing this format forever. But right now, that this season, it wouldn't matter because of what's happening. The teams being all in Orlando, so you could do this. But You would take the best 16 teams. It just works out this year that there's 8 in the West, 8 in the East. I know a couple of other people want to play in tournament, kind of like the NHL's doing with 24 teams. But it'll be interesting to see what's decided. But that's it for me today. Leave a like, comment what you guys thought of the episode today, and guess I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.